week. We are in the pre-show right now, and I am Sal the Slab Guy, your host. As always, with me is my usual suspects, except for one. We decided to kick his ass off because he wasn't prepared, so out he goes. Jamie is sick, folks, and he will not be in the show tonight. So I got, down below me, I've got Dan the Man Kelly. What's going on, Dan? And then to this side of me is the Ric Flair of comics, coming to you from the Library of Comics. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Let's
All
wish
right.
Jamie well and hope he recovers well.
Yep.
Did he get hold of some bad meat? Is that what happened?
He probably did.
Well, hope he recovers and feels better soon. Especially since this is his character.
This was his pick. This character was his pick. Yeah, it was. It was. Of course.
You know what would be really bad? It's like what is the one y'all hated doing? MODOK, right? If whoever picked MODOK really didn't want to do it, picked it and stuck it with everybody else and then said, nah, I'm not doing this show.
It was Tim that picked MODOK because me and him were the only ones that did that episode because it was like on a week where he had to fill in for Jamie before he was regularly doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And he would just fill in occasionally. And so, I
think I was on vacation.
You and Tim are the only ones that are going to be doing it. And I stupidly was like, well, let Tim pick a character. And he picked fucking MODOK. Like I said, though, it ended up being really fun.
No, it's still a good show.
There were some good MODOK miniseries that I never would have read if we hadn't done that episode. But when I was looking them up, and I was like, oh, there's this 6-issue series and this 6-issue miniseries. I read them. I was like, these are really fucking good. And I would have read them if we hadn't done that episode, but I'm glad I did because they were really, if you look at my recommended reading in that episode, like I still highly recommend checking those miniseries out. Like some of them are really funny.
Nice. All right, well, let's get a little business out of the way. We'll take care of our long intros now, but when we start the actual show, we'll do the short ones. So you can always find the Codex Station on all the socials. All you got to do is type in at the Codex Station on any streaming media, and you can be able to find us. So be sure to click like, share, and subscribe. You can also go over to thecodexstation.com. Check that out. Get some merch, meet the team, see what we like, see what shows we're on, and even reach out and contact us through the website. So go over to thecodexstation.com and check us out. As always, I am Sal the Slab Guy, your host, but when I'm not on Codex, you can always find me on YouTube at their Sal's Comic Corner. So, Dan, where can they find you at?
They can find me here in my basement, but if they find me here, I'm gonna say, get out of my house.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, do not show up at Dan's house, but find him online. Where?
You can find me on Instagram at Dan Kelly Art. Post the art and music on there. Go give me a follow, give me some likes, and come join in the fun. And then after you do that, go this way. Go check out all of the stuff that he has going on because it's all fantastic, and he's going to tell you all about it right now.
All right. First off, let me say that I am a proud co-owner of Comic Logic. Comic Logic is the only comic book store in Loudoun County, Virginia. We're in Northern Virginia. Please come in and see us. We would love to see you. Come in on Wednesdays and you get to see me picking up my books and injecting that ink right in there and getting them big veins and them big muscles. I've told you before, what makes you strong? Comic books and push-ups. Comic books make you strong because you're picking up all those books. And then you have to put them in a short box. And then the short box gets crowded and you got to get a long box. And you're taking long boxes of comics around. That builds strength. That's right, baby.
Push up, bench press them.
And comic books make you strong. So come see us. We'd love to have you. We also do a Facebook Live show under our Comic Logic banner the first 3 Thursdays of every month. Please come see us there. Had one tonight. So we had a fun show tonight. Sal was a contributor on that. We loved having him there. Also, let's give a lot of love to our good buddy, Archduke Kevy, who started the Comic Character of the Day site. That is the reason that we are all acquainted. That is the glue that stuck us together. So thank you, Archduke Kevy, for that. I post under the name Opie Taylor. I post cover of the day. That great man down there, Dan, posts a random panel of the day and a question of the day. And Sal is always a frequent contributor. And while I'm still thinking about Dan, Dan has an Instagram site where Dan Kelly Art. He is climbing the ladder to get to 1,000, and our goal is 1K for DK. So let's
1K
get
for
him,
DK.
1K for DK. So please, let's get him there. And while you're subscribing to that, make sure that you go to Sal's Comic Corner over there and you subscribe to that, because he has all these comic goodness. He has all these slabs, wall to wall and treetop tall slabs for days, baby. You know, he likes slabs so much he sleeps at the morgue. That's that man. That's dedication. Take it away, Sal.
All right. Thank you, Uncle Gary, for that wonderful introduction. Yep. You can always find me on Sal's Comic Corner or YouTube. And I'm also on Instagram as the Slab Guy 77. But for tonight's comic character of the week, who are we talking about? I think we're all wearing a good symbol on the shirt. Other side, Dan. There you go. Yes, we're talking about Green Lantern. But you're going to say, but wait, didn't you guys do a Green Lantern already? We did, but that was Kyle Rayner. Tonight we are actually going to be talking about Hal Jordan.
And then next week's gonna be Alan Scott, and then Guy Gardner. The week after that, and then the week after that, it's gonna be John Stewart. Then we're gonna do Kilowog. After that, we're gonna do Gnort.
Gnort.
We're going to do Sinestro because Sinestro was a Green Lantern at one point. So
we're gonna do Ab and Sur, but that show is gonna be cut short tragically.
and then we got to go through the other chorus as well. So it'll be a few weeks.
Oh, I can't wait for the Tomar Ree show.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. That is definitely going to be a good
and
one.
Chip, I think Alvin and the Chips and the Chipmunks.
Oh God, yeah. Just make sure there's no oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
All right, folks, this is going to be a good show. We got some good stuff to us. Once again, we're missing Jamie. He did not even give us any information because he's been that sick. We just kicked his ass out. We just said, "See you later, pal. You're out because you don't have any information. You're out of here." So it'll be just the three of us. We're going to go through some badass moments, top covers, some great readings, and we're probably going to expand on the great readings a little bit. Since it's just the three of us, we might do a little honorary mentions in the.
We're supersizing it.
We're supersizing it.
This episode is going to be girthier than usual.
Girthier, yes. All right, if you guys are ready to kick it off, let's do it. Are you guys ready?
It's ready. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Let's do some groovy bass tones.
Oh, love that.
Do it.
That'll make Jamie sick.
I gotta find the groovy bass tones. Where is it?
Don't do the groovy bass tones. Do something good.
I love the groovy bass tones.
Yeah, me too.
Tones,
They'll help Jamie heal.
Oh yes, the groovy bass tones will help Jamie heal. We're doing it. And there we go, folks. Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, comic character of the week. Hey, folks, how you guys doing? Welcome back to the Codex Station's comic character of the week, where we do a deep dive on any given character. And tonight's character is none other than Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. I am your host tonight, Sal the Slab Guy. As always, with my usual partners in crime, -1. Down below me is Dan the Man Kelly, and over to my left is Uncle Gary, the Ric Flair of comics.
Woo!
Coming through from the live from the comics of the comic basement, Library Comics.
Library Comics.
How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
All right. Are we ready to kick this show off? You want to do a little spiel yet? Or
you ready?
Go right into it. You just go right into it. Dan, give us the intro on this.
All right. Well, his Green Lantern's first appearance was all the way back in Showcase number 22 from September 1959. Created by, Gary knows this, I'm sure.
Created by Green Lantern? Who created Green Lantern? Well, we talking about Hal Jordan, or are we talking about Martin Odell created the first Green Lantern?
Well,
right.
Jordan was created by John Broome and the legendary Gil Kane.
Yes.
Yep.
As far as an origin, this one's a lot more simple than some of the recent ones we've been having. Hal Jordan was a test pilot, and he was summoned to the crash site of Abin Sur, who was an alien member of the Green Lantern Corps, which is an intergalactic police force. Sur was mortally wounded and had his ring bring him the closest person that would be a suitable replacement. So it brought him Jordan. Jordan accepts the ring, the power battery, and boom, he becomes Green Lantern, part of the Green Lantern Corps, goes and gets trained by Sinestro, who would then ultimately end up being his greatest villain. And yeah, that's it. And he goes on to be Green Lantern. As far as his powers, he's got the Green Lantern ring, which is frequently referred to as the most powerful weapon in the universe. It can make any construct that the wearer can think of. Can shoot powerful energy blasts. Gives them the ability of flight. It covers the wearer with a protective aura to keep them safe from damage and protect them when they're flying through space. And it generates their costume for them too. It acts as a universal translator. It's a pretty cool thing to have. I want one
Most definitely. The rings can also communicate by touching. So if one lantern needs to communicate information to another, they just have to match up the rings.
The rings also, they had at one point, would protect the wearer when the wearer was unconscious.
Yeah.
Would protect it. And also with his origin, Julius Schwartz, who was the editor at DC at the time, brought in a big sci-fi bent to the when they relaunched all these heroes, these golden age heroes in the modern times. The Flash had a sci-fi origin. Green Lantern had a sci-fi origin. So all these were, when they created these concepts, Julie Schwartz set the tone for that's how they were going to be. So Broom and Gardner Fox, who did a lot of, who actually was on the original JSA stuff, when he revamped like Hawkman and things like that, they gave them, origins that were sci-fi origins. And Julius Schwartz was for many years a sci-fi editor of novels. And so that's where his area of expertise was. So very heavily influenced by the house style of Julius Schwartz.
Right. So look who's joined us in the chat. It's our other than Tim Morris, Tim the Terrible.
Tim, you can join us, man.
Yeah, Tim, just log in.
Just log in. You have no information. And also we got Tim. We got Mon Comics sitting here as well.
Oh, Mon Comics.
Look at this. Man, I promised not to piss Gary off on Saturday.
Oh, you won't piss me off, baby. It just I don't know why you're limiting me to 5 books. Oh my God, that's leaving over 59,000 to the side. What are we gonna do, man?
Tim, I like your I can't repeat it on here because this is a family friendly show, but I like your comment about you wish there was a rooster that was a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So
Adult Swim did a parody on that.
Well, that sounds about like what Lobo did with the ring.
Just about.
Beware my power, Green Lanterns. Green
Lanterns. Yep. Oh yeah.
Yep. Bam.
All right. So let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor today. Our sponsor is W Energy. So if you head on over to WGG and use the code X, you can save 10% on that order. This is a great clean energy drink, folks. There's no bad aftertaste. There's no sugar crash, and it tastes really good. It's a good clean energy drink. You should check it out. Head on over to WGG, use that code X, and save 10%. All right, so now let's get into the good stuff here. What works best with this character? Gary, why don't you go ahead and kick us off? What you think works best?
I think what works best for this character is when he is the ultimate pain in the ass to the establishment.
Yep.
The Guardians tell him to go do A. He says, I'm going to do B. That's what I like. The maverick attitude. And, he wasn't always like that. He was pretty much a good soldier, followed orders till certain things happened in a book we'll talk about later, that I'll talk about later at least. So, but when Hal is questioning authority, and not following orders blindly. And when he's going out there and he's like a Texas Ranger, their badge said one riot, one Ranger. That's when Hal is at his best, when he is going out there solo, taking on all comers, whatever's going to happen. He is not a leader. He is not a leader. He is not a follower. He is a trailblazer, is what he is. So to me, that's when Hal works the best, when he is a maverick and he's he's an old hero riding in to save the day all by himself. He's the Lone Ranger, baby.
That's
so
right.
that's what I like the best about Hal. And whether it's a terrestrial threat or whether it's a stellar threat, it's just the same thing. Him with that attitude, and he's the best and he's the brashest. And the fact that the Guardians put up with that pain in the ass shows you that he's pretty damn valuable. And he's a legend to the rest of the Corps, because he's the one that doesn't follow the orders. He's the one that's going to do it his way.
Yep.
And the consequences be damned. So I love Hal Jordan, and that's the Hal Jordan I love. It's the same with the League. He's not the team leader of the Justice League, but he is somebody you can depend on, that's going to be in the fight, is going to pull his weight and speaks with authority. But again, not a leader. That's not what we need Hal for. Hal leads by example.
Right.
He goes out there and kicks ass, and you know what? He ain't got no fear either. So there you go. So that's the Hal Jordan I love.
All right, awesome stuff. Dan, why don't you go next? I'll go last on this segment.
I am the complete opposite of Gary, actually. I like it when he's being cocky and headstrong and just, I'm going to go in and do it. But especially when he's like,
excuse me,
when it's a big, when it's like a big battle thing and he's he's like the head Green Lantern. It's like, all right, everybody, he doesn't necessarily lead them in the way that like Superman leads the Justice League, or even where other characters might lead the Corps, but he's just coming in and be like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And he's not the general that's in the back sending guys off to battle. He's the one that's like, we're going to go do this and this, and I'm going to be the first one in to do it. And, it doesn't matter how crazy it is. It doesn't matter how suicidal it is or something, like, he's going to go do that. And that's why the other members of the Corps follow him, because they're like, all right, well, if he's brave enough to do it, we got to be that too. So, they're just following him for that. So that's how I like him, when he's just going out there and everybody's following his lead. So yeah, I guess he's not technically leading them the way that, like I said, like Captain America would lead the Avengers or Superman would the League. It's more like, them just following him.
It's leading by example.
Right.
Yeah.
Leading by example.
Right.
Yeah. It's
Tim Johnson was saying he's a sergeant in the field. Yep.
He would never ask anybody. He would never ask any of them to do something that he wouldn't do himself.
Yes,
without a doubt.
True.
Yeah,
that's very true. All right, so the first thing I had on my list was he was obstinate. He's always questioning everything.
Yeah,
like you guys said, it's like the Guardians say, "Here, you guys got to go to this sector and take care of this." He's like, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go check it out and see what's really going on, and I'll get back to you." That type of thing. Excuse me. So, yeah, he's a maverick. He's a wild card, and your guys are right about him leading the charge in the battle. He doesn't really direct anything. He's like, I'm going here. I'm going to kick this guy's ass. You could join me. It's because this is what I'm doing. Excuse me. And I like it when he's also facing off with Sinestro, because I think Sinestro and him produced the most epic battles. And I kind of like about him was he doesn't really condone the death penalty or the death situation, killing people. I think they've retconned that a little bit, but in the beginning, he didn't even want to power ring people like prisoners to death. He didn't want to do it. He was like, I'm not having any part of that. And they're like, the Guardians would be like, but you have to. We gave you the order. And he's like, here, take the ring. Go ahead. Boom. I'm out. And so he sticks by his guns on that, and I really like that approach on it too. So now we got to jump into.
Well, I was going to say, I could add on to that.
Yeah, add on to
How
it.
you said he's a Maverick. He kind of reminds you like if you took Maverick from Top Gun and gave him a power ring. That's
Yep.
it.
Yeah,
Well, it's that cocky test pilot attitude.
Yeah.
Which
That's true.
Again, and again, remember when he was created? We're talking about 1969. Yeah, well,
60s.
late 50s. He was created.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest heroes in American culture were test pilots. Chuck Yeager,
Right.
Yeager, and
Right.
Yep, Scott Eastman. You know, these guys. This was even before the Mercury program. It was these test pilots that were the that were the real heroes and the guys that got all the press and all that.
That showed no fear. That
Yep.
showed no fear. They were able to push
push that
past their
envelope.
fear. They pushed past their fear to do the job.
One of my favorite movies is The Right Stuff, and if you haven't seen that,
great
please,
movie.
dude,
Definitely.
that is a fantastic. Yeah, that's right, Dan. With your dad, I bet your pops loves that movie.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic movie that gets into the mindset of these guys and how Yeager was portrayed, and that was amazing. And damn, with Chuck Yeager, he just died a few years ago. I mean, he outlived all the Mercury astronauts.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't be an astronaut. He couldn't be considered for the program because he didn't have a college degree. The best damn test pilot in the world didn't have a college degree, so can't be an astronaut.
I want to add on to that as well, because back in that time frame, the space race was starting to heat up. Space was like a blank canvas.
Mm-hmm.
No one knew what was out there or what could be out there. So it was like you could create literally anything for it, and have that be that plot. Sure, there's space, there's aliens on some other planet. There's a group of immortals leading a police squad, type situation. There was no way you could say no, that's impossible, that can't happen. It was completely a blank slate. So anything was possible when creating a space adventure. So
I agree.
Definitely.
And let's not forget his epic time as an insurance adjuster.
And a toy salesman.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That is true. All right, so moving on, we're going to go on to our badass moments, and I think I will kick us off for badass moments. So I've got a lot of them. So
I've got like 6 of them, so I was just going to go with whatever ones you guys didn't say.
Yeah, that's a great way to do this. Yeah.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6. Whatever. We're just gonna go through them all. Okay. So my first one is from Emerald Dawn, where they showed a little backstory when he first got his ring, and he's learning from Sinestro, and this alien called Legion that was an alien dressed in yellow armor, was powered up by yellow armor, was attacking Oa, and they were losing the fight to him, and the Guardians came with the horn and said, "All lanterns evacuate Oa. We're giving up. We're going to let Oa die." And Hal Jordan was like, "What? Ultimate power doesn't cut and run? Are you kidding me?" And that's when he merged with the battery and actually was able to defeat Legion at that time. But that's this whole thing, because you could see the shock on the Guardian's face as he was like, "Wait a minute, what? Ultimate power doesn't cut and run." And he just took off straight for the battery. And the Guardian was like, "What the hell are you doing?" But that was a great moment there. And as he's battling Legion, he actually gets him covered in mud. And he's like throwing him around in mud and covering him in all sorts of mud. So all the yellow is completely covered. And he goes, "Oh, are we still yellow? Let's try the mud over here," as he throws him, spins him on a construct into another area where he completely gets covered as well. And then he's like, "Oh, are we still yellow?" And he picks him up again and smashes him down with a baseball bat. It was amazing. It was good stuff there.
For those who don't know, at the time, the Green Lantern rings didn't work against the color yellow. There was
so
an obscure...
Yep. Still, let me go ahead. I'll go ahead and explain a little bit of that. So in the original, before everything got retconned, the Owen energy was blue, and they could not. They had to temper it with a yellow impurity so that other beings could actually channel it through these rings. So it had a yellow impurity, which meant that it could not affect anything yellow. All right, it had no. There was no way it could touch it. It would just, anything you tried to hit it with, hit it with, the yellow would just bounce off, and it wouldn't work. So there's a couple of jokes with that, with Batman dressed in yellow in a yellow room and drank lemonade just to piss him off. But
the original Alan Scott Green Lantern, the ring didn't work against wood. So the whole joke was you could kill Hal Jordan and Alan Scott with a yellow number 3 pencil.
Number 2 pencil. Yep.
Number 2 pencil. Yeah.
So my brother tried to mess with me when I was younger, because I was a big Green Lantern fan when I was younger, and said that he could take him out with a pencil. And I'm like, really? He goes, well, what if I just dressed in a yellow suit? Then you couldn't touch me. And I'm like, I'm not going to mention my brother's name on air because he might be listening to this, but whatever. I'm like, well, what would your yellow suit stand up to an 18-wheeler falling from the sky at terminal velocity? No, it wouldn't. What's your yellow suit going to be covered in? Red. Because you're going to be bloodied. From that. Anyhow, there was a follow up to that. Emerald Dawn. It was Emerald Dawn 2, and it was a little bit more training from Sinestro, and they were tracking down some beings, or they were going through the hunt, and they captured some guys in a tall building, and Sinestro was like, okay, maybe we can get some information out of these guys, but not looking at Hal Jordan and what he was doing. Hal Jordan was forming like a gun. He had these guys trapped in a bubble, and he started forming a gun, and he blasted these guys out of the window, and Sinestro was like, what did you just do? He was starting to freak out. He goes, oh, don't worry. He was catching them as they were falling out in a catching mitt. He goes, I just wanted to get their attention. And then brought him back into the building. He goes, now they'll talk, that type of thing. And then one of the more recent badass moments I have is when he was fighting Zod. This is in Green Lantern Corps, number 41. Zod had taken over a planet that has 2 orbiting yellow suns. So figure Superman with twice the power. And he just annihilates Zod. Zod's thinking, he goes, oh, I'm powered up by 2 suns. He goes, you army guys are all the same. You just think forwards and backwards. He goes, we think of the sky as 360 degrees, baby. And all these jets come out of nowhere. And he goes, you know what, Zod? There's one thing I've never done as a test pilot. Because that's crashed 2 planes together. And he formed a plane on Zod, and then he got in a plane himself and just smashed them together like that. And defeats Zod. Zod's on the ground, and he picks him up. He's like, you're under arrest. And then that's when the Owens came in and said, no, we have a treaty with them. He's allowed to be here. And he's like, he goes, what? What's the point of this? That type of thing. But anyhow, and then another new recent one was actually just from Night Terrors. We talked about this in probably one of our After Darks. The Night Terror demon was trying to scare him, and he was like, what? Are you trying to scare me? Is that what you're trying to do here? The man without fear? You're trying to scare me? That type of thing. That was just a great line. And my last one is...
Well, you forget the rest of it. Like, the demon ran, and then he started chasing the demon.
He started chasing the demon.
You.
The demon, yeah, he was like, the demon was like, I'm out of here. And then he just started chasing the demon. Yep, that was pretty funny. So my last one from Green Lantern Corps, Volume 1, they're actually fighting the Sinestro Squad. And the Sinestro Corps has actually pretty much eliminated a lot of the Green Lanterns, or they were in hiding. And Hal Jordan pops up, and they're like, we thought you were dead. That's all right, we'll take care of you. And, he was like, you guys think you can fly? That doesn't make you pilots. The sky is mine. And all of a sudden, all these jets formed out of nowhere, and he just mops up the floor with two yellow lanterns, which was great. Now, at this point, though, they had retconned the yellow impurity out. If you were able to overcome fear, then you could affect anything. Yellow wasn't stopping. So at that point, it was retconned differently, which was a good story on your own, but I'm sure we probably got it covered in one of our greatest stories. But let's go ahead to Gary. Why don't you give us your badass moments?
All right. So my badass moments, I'm going to start when, a small moment. In Green Lantern Rebirth number 6, the Dark Knight detective puts his hand on Hal and tells him, and tells him basically, let's see. What are the words? He says, "We're not done." Well, Hal knocks the bat on his ass and said, "We are done," and got the hell out of there. Right now, we are. Let's go, Lanterns. So knocking Batman on his ass to me is a badass moment. A small moment, but a badass moment. Now, a great cosmic moment is when has Parallax in the final night.
Oh, this was one of mine.
Yeah, this is a good one.
He sacrifices himself.
Mm-hmm.
He sacrifices himself and he absorbs the Sun Eater, who is wiping out our sun. And in the in the original, in the Legion story, the Sun Eater is what Pharaoh Lad had to save the Earth from and sacrifice himself. But anyway, Pharaoh Lad is with a connection in this. But anyway, Hal is going to, or Parallax, sacrifices himself, absorbs the Sun Eater, and reignites the sun using all the energy he has, and it basically kills him. And that was his redemption from his sins as Parallax. And after that, of course, he becomes he becomes bonded with the Spectre. He becomes the human host of the Spectre. But I just, that was a great arc to to bring the character back around where he should be. And I'm not a huge fan of Crazy Hal, but I do love the redemption factor of that. Now the other one,
well, that was a good story all around. I'm sure we'll talk about it more.
The other one was a small moment, and it's a little bit philosophical. Okay, so it's a little bit philosophical. So it's not on what you one of the most devastating comic panels that I've ever read are in Green Lantern, Green Arrow 76, written by the great Denny O'Neil and illustrated by Neil Adams, where the Lantern up to this point has been pretty much a Boy Scout, been a company man, followed the guidelines of the Guardians with what they've said, and he is very much a cop. He's very much a cop, and he's not questioned, what he's told to do, and he does his job, and he goes to meet Green Arrow in a bad part of town, and he sees these people in their apartment buildings and on the stoop throwing things at a man in a suit and almost assaulting him, and the Lantern protects this guy, and he's going after the people, and the Arrow comes out of the building, and he says to the Arrow, "Can you believe these people are throwing this, assaulting this man?" He goes, "Yeah, I can believe it, and I should do it too. He's the slumlord, and these people are in his building, and he's got them in these unlivable conditions. I'd be throwing stuff at him too." And so he and Ollie go onto the roof to talk this out, and the Lantern is just not, it's just not sinking in. And he's saying, "I got to," because Ollie's laying into him, and the Lantern says, "You got no cause to yell at me. I've got a job to do." And Arrow says, "Yeah, well, seems like I've heard that before at the Nazi war trials." And so Hal's taken aback at that, but then you get a voice from off panel that says, "I want to ask the Ring Slinger a question, Mr. Green Arrow." And so here we got this great page where this older black man approaches Hal, and he says, "I've been reading about you, how you worked for the Blueskins, and how on a planet somewhere you helped out the Orange Skins, and you've done considerable for the Purple Skins. Only their skins you never bothered with, the Black Skins. I want to know how come. Answer me that, Mr. Green Lantern. Answer me that, Mr. Green Lantern." And he says, "I can't." And the way Hal hangs his head here, let me get that panel. Just hangs his head. This is something that he's never even contemplated. And he says, "I can't." And then the next panel, "In the time it takes to draw a single breath, the span of a heartbeat, a man looks into his own soul and his life changes." Okay, maybe I have been a dummy. So tell me, how do I help? All right, so I think it's badass
Yeah.
If you have lived your life by a certain set of standards and rules that you are sure that are dead right as rain, and then something hits you so hard, and you think that, and you contemplate the fact that you might have really been wrong in how you've lived your life and how you've carried yourself, and not seeing the big picture, and that in a second you re-examine that and you flip a switch, that you're going to change your worldview. I think that is incredibly badass. And he does change his worldview. And we embark upon this great journey where Hal and Ollie go across America and they look at some of these amazing problems that aren't on a galactic scale, aren't even on a more of a global scale or more of a national scale. But I think it's incredibly badass to examine your life and how you've lived your life when you're certain you were right, and then to find information out that maybe tells you that you weren't right, and to make that change, to be willing to learn more, to possibly change how you look at things. To me, I think that is as badass as it gets.
Gotta agree with you, 100%. 100%.
All right.
Sorry, I cut out there for a little bit, so I had to refresh and come back in. Is that all your badass?
Yeah, those are my three. And like I said, that's off the beaten path of what we usually do for badass moments. But
no, that's perfect.
To me, that's a power that really speaks to me.
Right.
So those are mine.
Cool. All right, Dan, how about you?
Yeah, I had the punching Batman. I had the final night thing, so I got a few more. Another one from Green Lantern Rebirth towards the end when Parallax is screaming at Hal to give up, and he just looks at him and goes, "I don't know how." Like that kind of encapsulates, his character too. Like, there is no give up in him, no matter what. And there's one time, and I don't remember the specific issues. It was when he was fighting the Manhunters, and he commandeered this plane so that he could fly, because his ring was out of juice. So he flies up and flies above the Manhunter, and then jumps out of the plane with no parachute so that he can hit the Manhunter and recharge his ring from the Manhunter in midair.
Yeah. Nice.
I mean, that's just badass and ballsy as it gets.
Yep.
And Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps, when he becomes pure will and destroys War World. Again, that's one of those things that just, like, I mean, how do you beat that?
Right.
And then one recently for the current Green Lantern book that happened really in like the first issue, second issue, but it's something that he's kind of done before too, is where he created his own ring. So it was in was it the New 52 Green Lantern when he had the gauntlet, and then he forged his own ring, and then ended up using the power to revive the Green Lantern Corps.
Yep.
But he made his own ring then, and then in the most recent one, he's trapped on Earth, doesn't have a ring, and there's this, this guy that has this, like somehow is this like Green Lantern, powered armor, and is attacking the city, and Hal just walks up to him, like I said, no ring, nothing, and just like punches him and like absorbs all of his energy and uses it to make his a new Green Lantern ring, just by absorbing the energy through his own pure willpower. And then it's only a few issues into the series, but as we've seen so far, it's more than just the standard Green Lantern ring. Like he's finding that this ring has more, has all the abilities of the Green Lantern ring, plus has other stuff too. So
that's definitely a good read. That is definitely a good read going on right now.
Yeah, it's a fun book to read, and to just be like, oh, I don't need a ring. I'll just use my willpower and just make my own.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, that's badass. That is badass. All right.
I've got a couple. I got an honorable mention or two if we're going.
Toss it in.
Do it. These ones then.
And Green Lantern, The Road Back. This is when they had volume 2 of Hal's book, and he's quite a bit older. You know, they're probably depicting him as like 40-ish. He's got graying temples, and Guy Gardner just keeps messing with him.
Oh, yeah.
like Guy does.
Yep.
And basically, Hal says, "All right, you want to take these rings off? Let's go outside." So they put the rings on. They go outside of this diner, and they beat the hell out of one another. And of course, Hal gets Guy, beats him up. And then the police come on and arrest both of them and throw them in the jail. And the rings are still sitting at the diner. And 2 local yahoos grab the rings and are causing havoc. And Hal and Guy have to get out of jail and go get the rings back. But Guy Gardner even acknowledges that Jordan's a badass, Yeah. So, he, the old man gave that young pup a smackdown that he needed. And
Give him a spanking.
Gave him a spanking. So, and the other, this is a small, I hope it doesn't take anybody's story away from their story called Flight, where he takes Kyle up in the plane with him.
Oh yeah.
And they leave the rings off. And he says, "I want you see what it's like to fly." And Kyle says, "I fly all the time." He goes, "Not with me."
No.
And they leave the rings, and he takes them up in the jet, and they're flying and doing all kinds of, of course, Hal's gonna try to make him ill. But that's not really badass, but that's cool. That's more of a cool moment,
right.
They fly without the rings. So
very cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get on to our next segment, which is the critiques and criticisms. Dan, why don't you go ahead first and give us what you don't like about him?
When he went crazy and tried to bring Coast City back and killed the core, and for something that I know we're going to dive into later, so I won't get into it too much. They retconned the reason why, and there was a reason behind it. But the whole thing of making him evil, and and this was at a time too when DC was really trying to get rid of some of their other get rid of some of these classic Silver Age characters and bring new ones. And they had already years before gotten rid of Barry and had Wally as Flash. They got rid of Hal so they could have Kyle. They got rid of Ollie so that they could have Connor as the new Green Arrow. They did the stupid Electric Superman. They did the stuff with
that was pretty damn cool. Don't be bashing Electric Superman. Jeez.
But the Azrael with Batman, they were doing a lot of stuff to try and change these characters. Peter David had his run on Aquaman where he gave him the hook hand and and all that. So they so that was kind of the reason why. But it's just there are other ways that you could have that they could have kind of written his character out and and not had it turn into that he became that he went crazy and murdered the core. And like I said, we'll get into it that they retconned it years later in a great way. But
they did.
But that and also the every iteration of Green Lantern that has shown up in live action so far. The movie was terrible, and for anyone that has seen the live action Justice League pilot that was made,
I saw that.
I have it on video. It's Mark Waid was writing Justice League at the time, and when it because it never aired because it was terrible, and they asked him about it at a Comic-Con one year if he saw it, and he said yeah, and they said, what did you think of it? And he said, it's an hour and a half of my life that I'm never going to get back. And that pretty much sums it up, and especially how Green Lantern was in that. So,
and it was the thing with Hal Jordan. It wasn't Hal Jordan portrayed in that. It was Guy Gardner.
I think it wasn't it Hal, but they gave him Guy's outfit. I
thought it was Guy Gardner.
I thought it was Hal that they just gave Guy's outfit to, because they also had Flash as a homeless guy, and Martian Manhunter was really fat because they got old David Ogden Stevens to play him. And,
yep. And, I remember that. Maybe you're right. I don't remember it, so fully so. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so that's it. But that was just kind of the honorable mention. But yeah, really the whole thing of them turning him evil just didn't like that. And I'm going to look up the Justice League thing now to see which lantern it was.
Okay, do it. All right, Gary. What do you think didn't work with this character?
Okay, well, first, I have a dirty secret. I didn't hate the Green Lantern movie. I mean, it wasn't good, but I didn't hate it. I mean, it was okay. I
did think that Mark Strong was excellent as Sinestro, but
I agree with that.
I mean, what I thought the best part of the movie was at the end when you saw the whole damn core.
Yeah,
that's the part where I was like, "Oh shit! Now we're talking, right?"
Yeah,
I was like, "Now we're talking. This is what I want to see." And then, of course, the movie Tank, we didn't get to see that, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. Didn't love it, but didn't hate it. So I'm with 100% with Dan. I hated Crazy Green Lantern. I hated that he went nuts and wiped out the core, and especially it didn't ring true for me that the dude that's got one of the strongest wills in the universe broke like that.
Yeah.
So that never rang true to me, and I will parrot what Dan said too, that they did come out of this brilliantly, where they used a storytelling device to tell that story again as to why it happened, and that made it better for sure.
Right.
But I didn't like Hal going nuts and killing the rest of the core and becoming Parallax. The fact that he was killing his comrades that he had fought with for so many years, I just hated that, and I just never, I never enjoyed him as Parallax and as going crazy and then being evil. So that was terrible to me. That was a terrible misuse of the character, but big kudos for the writer who we'll talk about later, who changed a lot of that, who told a really great story around that.
Definitely.
So that's it for me. Yep.
All right, so I'll gotta echo you guys. I didn't care for the Crazy Hal too much, but I didn't mind it at first. But when he took it too far for me was when he started killing off the other Green Lanterns.
Yep.
I did not like that because I've been reading this character for so long, and killing was just not in his cards. It didn't matter how bad the person was. Killing was just not in his repertoire to do. So for him to go in like that, I can understand it, but I didn't like it. And so yeah, the other thing I didn't really like is when they treat his cockiness and the same thing to being an idiot. He's cocky, yes, but he's cocky because he needs to have that fearless attitude. But then they started turning it around and making him look like an idiot for being cocky, and I don't like that. And I've seen that happen in different mediums and a lot of the animated stuff as well. And that just bothers me. He's cocky because he is confident, not because he's not because he's an idiot. And,
yeah, I mean, you can't be an idiot. You can't be a test pilot and be an idiot. Like you have to be. There's so much. You have to go through all of the military training and pilot. You have to go through all this stuff just to get in the military, and then all the extra stuff. Only the best of the best get to be test pilots. Like so, you
best of the best.
Yeah, like but you can't be an idiot and do that. Like you just stumble your way into it.
Right. Exactly.
I do like when he's an idiot in his personal life. I think that's good.
But that's different. That is
different.
That is different, and that's
cockiness gets in trouble there. Yeah.
I
want to say I think it speaks to too that none of us had listed in our badass moments where when he went crazy, like because you could easily list it. Yeah, he went crazy. He wiped out the entire core, killed Sinestro, destroyed the power battery. Like, that's badass that one guy did all that, and none of us had that listed in there because, like, that's not the lantern that we
do.
Yeah,
that's very true. So the only other thing is, I don't like how like all the other bad guys that come up with the yellow. This is back before they retconned it. How they came up with the whole yellow defense. Oh, I've got yellow up. You're not going to be able to affect me at all. Come on,
gold face.
Yeah,
gold face.
I mean, that's just ridiculous to me. I mean, if you think about it, you're trained to think on your feet and to come up with any type of construct whatsoever, or do whatever you want type
Yep.
situation, you can think of a way around a person dressed in yellow. There's just
Well,
there's just
you're
no way around it.
like your deal with your brother. Drop
Yeah.
a 18-wheeler on somebody. Yeah.
I know. It's exactly. So yeah, that's really the only two things I really had that I don't like about this character. So let's going to go to, and we're going to jump to top covers. And Uncle Gary, I'm going to have you kick us off for your top covers. Where
Well,
are
classic, baby.
See what he's
Hold
got.
on. Let's see. Hold on. We got to go there. We're used to working the controls here.
That's okay.
And there we go. There's your top covers for you.
Oh, going
Some
classic.
excellent choices. Oh my God,
you,
excellent
sir.
choices.
I
Those
went
were
old
on my list too. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Well,
Sal
I
had
went-
like 48 choices that he had to narrow down.
listen, there are a lot of great Green Lantern covers
Yes.
and a lot of great modern ones, but I really felt I needed to go old school. To me, Green Lantern, Green Arrow 76,
Yeah.
where the arrow's
that book.
breaking, where Green Arrow, Ollie's breaking the power battery with an arrow. That
Yep.
to me is one of the most iconic covers of all time. I love that cover so much. I got 2 copies of it. So there you go.
Nice.
So
I got it slabbed.
yeah. What's your grade on your slab?
It is a 5.0.
Ooh, I think mine's either a 6.0 or a 6.5. I can't remember which.
Ooh.
And then I have a
I
raw
don't have
copy.
it at all.
That's not
He's
as
flex,
nice.
he's Uncle Gary's flexing on me, ladies and gentlemen. He's
Right,
flexing.
hey, listen, you have all those other high slabs, so every now and then I might have one that's better. But
That's all right.
that's just a great iconic cover by Neil Adams. And the other thing was that kicked off the new start to that series where Green Arrow was given co-starring billing, and it started, that image I showed of, where he was questioned by the older black fellow was in that book, and that book set the tone for a groundbreaking storyline of the hard traveling heroes. And that book is important historically, and even out of that, it's just a fantastic cover.
So
But
let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you think this was like the start of where Hal really started questioning even the Guardians' actions?
Yes,
what we love,
absolutely. Absolutely. I believe this is where he really started questioning them through his newfound, awareness in things.
Right.
It all stems
I agree
from
with you.
this.
I agree with you on that. All right,
yeah.
continue. Go ahead. Sorry.
Let's go to the one. So this great groundbreaking series that went from 76 to issue 89 was so ahead of its time that it was canceled. And the book the book had the stories that they had in the can still had to be finished in as a backup story in the Flash's comics. So it continues through there. So it was another, and there's another 4 years before the title was relaunched with number 90. And that's what's on the far side of your screen there. And that is Green Lantern, Green Arrow. And this cover is by one of my favorites who Dan and I had the pleasure of interviewing, Mike Grill. And I just love that cover. I just love the pose. I love the two of them together in it. And this was also, so to the left is the hard traveling heroes. This series the collection became known as the space traveling heroes. So it was a little more cosmic in some of the stories, but it was just a great run by Denny O'Neil writing again and Mike Grill doing the art. And I just love how that kicked off the relaunch of the series. And I bought that right off the spinner rack, fellas. I bought that right off the rack, and that spoke to me. And it was, oh my God, this is so cool. So I love that book. I love that issue. And that cover has always had a soft spot for me. So I did go a little modern, though modern's about 20 years old here. And this is that middle cover is an Alex Ross cover. And it's on Green Lantern. It's Green Lantern #1, but it's the 4th volume of Green Lantern. And it's the B cover by Ross. And I just think the look on Hal's face, the determination with a little bit of fun, in the little bit of grin there, and the ring on his finger leading through the sky. I just think that to me, when I see that is just Green Lantern at its finest, and the essence of the character that I think Alex Ross captured 100%.
Yeah,
so
I totally agree with you on that one.
Those are my 3.
Yeah. All right. Dan, how about you? Let me pull yours up right here.
All right, so I also had the had the 76, Gary talked about. Well, it's just, it's an iconic classic cover. And it's one of those ones really great too. There's really only three colors in it. It's green, it's black, and it's white. But the way that they did it just makes it really stand out. It doesn't make it look bland. And I mean, he covered it all. Just a great cover. The middle one, I got Green Lantern 155. I just like how it's got like the battery behind him, and he's in there, and he's shooting the beam out of the hand, and then it's got his oath, the brightest day, blackest night that's in it. And I just thought, like, man, that's a really cool cover that really really grabs you.
Yeah, I like that too. That the oath is right there, right in front of you. And I don't know that there's another cover that has the oath on it, so that's pretty cool.
I don't think there is.
And then the final one I got is Green Lantern 80th anniversary. It's from a couple years ago. It had a bunch of different covers. I love the Jim Lee one, other than the fact that Jim Lee's one of my favorite artists. I think this one just really captures the spirit or the essence of Hal's character. He's flying through the air. He's got you can see like the green aura around him. But he's flying through the air. He's got that cocky kind of smile. He's got the fighter jets there that are with him when he's flying, and it's just a fantastic pose, a fantastic image of him.
That is awesome.
Oh, I love it.
That is awesome. Yep. So we'll jump over to my covers, and there we go. Look at that.
Oh, nice. Oh, love it.
So all those 6 covers that you guys had shown, or I should say 5 because there was a duplicate there, I had also on my list. I had to eliminate them. Dan's was right. I had about 48 covers that I had to eliminate down to 3, and I went with these 3. And I'll start with Emerald Dawn, number 6, because it shows the whole core, including Sinestro, and they're all floating above Oa, and it just looks like a badass moment to me. So of course the middle one, Dan set it off with this one. He's shooting the beam out, giving the oath. 100% awesome cover. The last one I got is a Van Sciver cover. It's also from the same volume number 4. By the way, that other Gary, the one that you showed, I have that slab. That's a 9.8, signed by Van Sciver, and he gave me a remark as well.
That's a Pacheco cover.
This one is a Pacheco cover?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's his signature at the bottom.
Oh, maybe you're right. But I'm just saying, I have the other one signed by Van Sciver as well.
The Ross cover, you mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. So, and a remark on it too. That is pretty special. Well, you just flexed on me, baby. Nice job. Get it on.
Yeah, but I love this last cover here because it does show a little bit of the cockiness, and he's got the power ring going off right up there. You're like, you want to mess with me? You're messing with me. You're messing with me. You're not gonna mess with me. That type of thing. But anyhow, I do love that cover.
I do too. Good choices.
So let's go ahead and go back to here, and we'll do a little 10-second break here. Where can we find great covers? Well, you can always find great covers at Heroes Corner Comics. You can find back issues. You can find news issues. You can find slabs. You can find store exclusives. And let me see if I can find the thing for it. There it is. So go over to heroescornercomics.com. Use the code word Codex and save 20% on that online order. And don't forget, they've got a Codex bundle as well, which is 3 store exclusives. And you can check them out and save 20% on that order as well. Use the word Codex, C-O-D-E-X, no hyphen. Now, they're also on Facebook under Heroes Corner Comics Insiders. Check them out there. You can set up a pull list with them if you want to start a pull list. I have a pull list with them, as you've seen from my channel. I have a lot of issues coming from them. Tim's also set up with pull list from them as well. So they're good people. They ship really packaged very well. They ship pretty well, and they're always open to talk to you about stuff if you're ever looking for something. So go check them out.
When you get the pulls, are they gentle?
Oh, they're so nice. They come bagged and boarded. They're beautiful.
Nothing like a gentle tug.
Nothing like a gentle tug. Gotta love it. All right. So up next for our next section is our essential readings. these are 3 readings, but we're probably going to expand a little bit now because we are 1 person down. But Dan, why don't you go ahead and kick us off for your essential readings, and I will bring up that one. Sorry, I'm running all the controls here. There we go.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Hey, yeah.
All right. Well, I've got, I'll start off with Hard Traveling Heroes. Gary read from it earlier, but yeah, it's when they had Green Arrow first co-star in his book, and it was, it's just one of the, it's just one of the iconic, not just Green Lantern or Green Arrow stories, but just one of the iconic comic stories of all time. Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams doing it, and it ran from, let me make sure I got the right issues. It was from Green Lantern 76 to 87 and 89. And then after the series was canceled, it ran backup stories in the Flash in 217, 218, 219, and 226.
Gary can confirm that.
That is very true. Good job, Dan.
And I don't know. Maybe you know, Gary, why there's that one issue gap in
88 was a giant size issue with reprints.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Because I wasn't sure of that, but yeah, it's just, it's where Green Lantern, where Hal doesn't, takes a break from doing the cosmic world level stuff and just goes on the road touring America with Ollie, and at first with a Guardian that comes down and decides he's going to kind of live among humans for a while to kind of see what they're all about. I don't think they name him at the time. They retconned that, didn't they?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, because the Guardians didn't really have names at that time. They were just the Guardians.
Yeah.
It comes down to kind of experience humanity, and they actually depowered Hal's ring at that point too, because they said, well, you're kind of taking a break from your normal duties, so we're going to depower the ring, which really was just for the story, so that because if he was overpowered like he always was, he would have been able to take care of a lot of these problems a lot quicker. But yeah, they go around the country and they're not dealing with megalomaniacs trying to take over the world. They're dealing with poverty and racism and environmental issues, and the famous issue with Speedy, where he got addicted to drugs, and they're dealing with a lot of this stuff. And like I said, it's not just an iconic Green Lantern, Green Arrow story. It's just one of those iconic comic book stories in general.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. After that, I've got Green Lantern Rebirth, which was Jeff Johns writing it, bringing Hal back to being Green Lantern after many years where he had first gone evil and been parallax, and then redeemed himself, and then came back as the Spectre, and then Johns came in and brought him back as Green Lantern, and found the brilliant way to tie in the yellow impurity that was in the Green Lantern rings with what happened to Hal, saying, I really like the part in the book where where they were saying, like, yeah, you notice how your hair was going white kind of prematurely, and
right,
and some of that, and it was revealed that the yellow impurity in the rings was because this creature, Parallax, that was the embodiment of fear, who was yellow, was imprisoned in the power battery, which gave it the impurity, and then over time was able to seep into Hal Jordan and take him over to, when he was at his lowest, when Coast City was destroyed, was able to fully take him over. And that's the reason that he became evil. So it wasn't necessarily Jordan, it was this entity taking him over, which I thought was a brilliant way to explain why that happened, and to be able to bring him back and make him be able to come back as a hero, because it would have been pretty hard if they would have been like, yeah, he did that, but he's all better now, because like he still did some really, really terrible stuff. So that was a way to be able to bring him back as a hero. Also explain the impurity in the Lantern Ring. Also was able to then, explain the yellow rings and create the Sinestro Corps, and and go into all that. So
And all the other cores as well, to tell you the truth.
yeah, that eventually all stemmed from that. So it was just a fantastic read. We a couple of us mentioned different moments from it that were in our badass moments, and it's just great story, great art, must read. And then the final one I have is Green Lantern Blackest Night, which really, truthfully isn't so much of a Hal Jordan story as much as it is a all-encompassing DC Universe story that just happens to be centered around the Green Lanterns, and and of course Hal was the main Green Lantern at the time, so he takes the point in it, and then the Black Lanterns where they're having these dead characters come back and and fight the living characters, and it's one of those big company-wide crossovers that actually lived up to the hype. It was actually worth reading, not just the Green Lantern book and the Blackest Night miniseries that was going on, but it was worth reading all of the tie-in miniseries too. And it's very rare that the tie-in miniseries in these big crossovers are actually worth anything. And in this one, like, for the most part, they were all good, and the main series itself was just fantastic, and it brought back dead characters and ended up getting rid of some characters, and it led into another really epic storyline that lasted about a year called Brightest Day, and it's just fantastic. It's one of the best line wide crossovers DC's ever done.
Yep,
in my opinion.
Yeah, very true. Got to agree with that. All right, so Gary, let me show you your essential readings. And just before we jump into that, Gary, the Dan, you were right. The penciler for that issue, where I was confused, it was Paccio, but Van Skeever did the artist, was the interior artist for that. So
okay,
just so you know. All right, Gary, give us your stories here.
Wow,
Your
mine really
specials.
differ from Dan's quite a bit.
I know, my goodness. We're going to be here another hour, folks.
Yep. Okay. So the Hard Traveling Heroes, Dan really covered that well, but that's such an amazing story. I'm still going to talk about it. All right. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, 76. We showed you the great cover. I showed you the great instance where the older black man is questioning him on why he's never done anything for people in the inner city. Why he's never heard about him helping them. And it gets him to re-examine his worldview. And as Dan mentioned, he tells the Guardians he's on a sabbatical, and they do depower his ring, which was very important because he's dealing with more terrestrial things. And and what they dealt with in this issue that, like, it was 13 issues in all in the Green Lantern series. I'm not counting the backups and the other stories and the Flash ones, but these stories dealt with, like Dan said, the two issues of the drug abuse. They dealt with Native American rights. They dealt with worker rights and union rights. They dealt with the environment. They dealt with overpopulation. They dealt with all these topics that it's a shame they're not relevant anymore, right? Or the book would really be something.
Yeah.
So you read this, and I was lucky enough to be at Awesome Con and conduct a panel with a couple of my buddies from the Uncanny Nerd that we had this as essential comic reading. And I was able to, also this introduced John Stewart. We introduced an African-American superhero that the DC Universe desperately needed. And I got to talk, I was acquainted with Neil Adams for, quite a few times past. And I told him we were going to do this, and did he have any insight he wanted to add? And he told us a couple things that we had talked about. But it's important. I'm very passionate about this book because, as Dan said, this isn't just a great Green Lantern story. This is a transcendent storyline that made comic books adult reading material. This transcended the industry. And the industry was not ready for it, as I've discussed. This book was canceled. but it was trailblazing, it was relevant, it was socially conscious, and in that set there were only 2 books that dealt with, like, there was a Sinestro issue and there was another issue that had some other villain that was in it. Those were the weakest issues in the whole thing. The ones that dealt with the societal issues were slam dunk home runs, books that had you thinking deeply. The standard superhero issues, the 2 of them, they pale in comparison to the others. So the book, when Speedy is found out, when the Arrow finds him at the end of 85, that he's shooting up, was that great cover and that great scene. In the next issue, 86, when the Arrow confronts Speedy, what does he do? He yells at him and he hits him.
Yeah.
And he tells him, "You're better than this. I didn't teach you to do this. Okay, maybe I wasn't around, but that I taught you better than this." And in his mind, the Arrow is making all these excuses for how it's not his fault.
Yeah.
Now, how real to life, how true to life is that? Right.
Right.
And the title of that book was Snowbirds Don't Fly. And there was a character, they showed a character, a friend of Speedy's, having a heroin overdose and dying in that book. And they showed him in the throes of ecstasy, followed by his heart stopping and him dying. This, again, elevated comics to adult literature. So this is why I'm so passionate about this set. And when we're done in the end, I'll show you my set. I got something special in there with it, my omnibus on it. But I have all the original issues, I have the original trades, and I have the big giant omnibus of it, the absolute edition of it. This, I can't recommend this highly enough, and it still stands the test of time, because these issues that are discussed, is like we don't have a drug problem now with fentanyl and things that are happening. This is still so relevant and so pertinent, that these issues that they tackled back in the early 70s, that it reads like it's just off the front pages today. So again, that's my spiel. Thanks for entertaining it.
Oh no, it's fine. It's good.
Yeah,
like I said, I'm very passionate about that series and what they mean to comic book history, not Green Lantern history, comic book history. So, kudos to Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. So Green Lantern Rebirth, this is, as Dan said, just wonderful. They reestablish Hal Jordan as he's supposed to be, Earth's #1 Green Lantern, and he's a badass in it, and he's doing all the Hal things, taking the lead. And Johns was brilliant with having Parallax being the yellow impurity in the ring. What a stroke of brilliance! And to have this lead into his wonderful run on the title, that leads into all the different color ring groups, which was an amazing feast, the whole spectrum. And all that leads into the culmination of Green Lantern, Blackest Night. And I put the omnibus on there. I have them in smaller hardcovers, which are great, better to read. But the one thing the omnibus does quite well is it puts them all in the order you want to read them, which is tough when you're going back and forth between the smaller hardcovers, between the Green Lantern Blackest Night ones and then the Green Lantern Corps Blackest Night, and then all the hardcovers they collected of the miniseries. And as Dan correctly pointed out, every damn miniseries connected to this throughout the DC universe was amazing. This was the most, usually when we do these big company-wide crossovers, they are blatant cash grabs. Oh, it's a tie-in, got to get it. Oh, it's a tie-in.
Yeah.
Every tie-in was amazing. And some of them were 3-issue minis. Some of them were really cool. They were dead issues they were like Jonah Hex 93. It was a new issue in a dead title. the Atom and Hawkman, whichever, 40 something they had.
Yeah.
So they had single issues of titles that were dead to tie it into the dead, theme of this. So great. The one that dealt with the Teen Titans, Superboy Connor Kent is fighting to save. He and Crypto and I think some of the other Titans are fighting to save Ma Kent when the Black Lanterns are coming for her in Smallville, and they are defending her and defending the farm. Oh my God, it's so great. So that's just a small snippet of what was going on throughout the whole DC universe. Was heroes all over the globe were fighting these Black Lanterns, and so it was just every single damn tie-in was worth the cost of the book, without a doubt. So Green Lantern Blackest Night is my favorite giant event that DC has ever done. Probably.
And it was a great way that they brought back a lot of great characters that they had killed off over the years, and like, hey, here's a way we can bring them all back. And
right.
Well, I'm an Aquaman fan. So to bring Aquaman back like they did was amazing. And they brought some villains back too. They brought Max Lord back. And the trippiest thing was when they brought Deadman back.
Yeah.
And here's a character that has been dead his entire hero existence as we know him, and Boston Brand is living and breathing. To me, that was just so amazingly mind-blowing. Loved it. But yeah, those are my three. Dan, you are right on the money, my brother. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I remember in the end of Blackest Night 2, when they had all the characters that came back from the dead and they had them there as a group, I was like, man, that would be a pretty cool Justice League team, because it was Aquaman and
Hawkman,
Martian Manhunter. Hawkwoman was there too. Firestorm, Martian Manhunter. I was like, oh, this would be a badass Justice League team.
Absolutely, Max Lord.
Yeah.
Yep. Very true.
Captain Boomerang. They brought Captain
Boomerang was back. Yep.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and show my readings then. I went a little bit of old school on mine. I actually I went with Emerald Dawn 1 through 6 because I feel like this was a great introduction. If you've never read the character or have very little knowledge of the character, this is a great series to actually jump in and learn it from the beginning. Because I think the original has a lot to say and a lot to you can see and feel with, and the way they've retconned it over the years, you get kind of confused of what's going on. Oh, what can't they do now, or what is this now? Because the rings used to have the 24-hour limit. They don't have that anymore.
Yeah,
they used to be affected by yellow. They don't have that anymore. So but if you're jumping on board, this is a great series and it's a good read. It's 6 issues and it's still very easy to pick up, I believe. So you could definitely check this out. The next one I got was Emerald Twilight. I mean, I know we don't like it because it leads to the Crazy Hal, but damn, that was some pretty good story going. As you see, Coast City, blown up. Hal goes a little bit nuts. You can see the cover when he's wearing all the rings, and you can just see the craziness in his face. I know we don't particularly like it, but still, it was it's a worthy read because you could see the progression of Hal going evil, and then eventually coming back, but not in this Emerald Twilight section, but later on. And of course, look at that, Green Lantern, Blackest Night. I don't know what else to add to that. Like Dan said, it wasn't just Hal Jordan, but it was Hal Jordan and everyone else.
Yeah.
And you guys both hit this nail on the head. It is an epic crossover event that actually is worth reading every single offshoot, every single tie-in. It's just it's worth it. It is worth it. So it is definitely something to check out.
And like I said, it led into Brightest Day, which was the year-long weekly title, which itself was an excellent read too.
Right.
That was when DC was firing on all cylinders.
That's true.
Yep.
That is so true.
It did. And coming out of that, DC was going gangbusters out of that. It was really good.
Yeah, right. There was a period of a few years there, like maybe around 10 years or so, where DC was just like killing, like everything was just fantastic.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, so now this leads us to our next segment. What Dan? Sorry, go ahead.
Then they did New 52 and they ruined it. And they have not been the same since.
That's it. That's it. All right. So our next segment is best writer and best author. I mean, best artist. And these are two guys that we've picked throughout the years. They don't necessarily have to work together, but these are two that we feel that we need to mention. And Dan, why don't you go ahead and kick us off on that?
Well, I'm sure it will come as no surprise that for best writer, I have Jeff Johns. With what he did with not just bringing Hal back in Rebirth, but then writing his book after that for a long while, and then he wrote the Blackest Night series too. Like he really gets nails him as a character. Wrote a lot of great epic moments, some great stories with him. So that's who I went with for my writer. For artists, it's tough because there were some really good ones. I ended up going, and I don't know if I'm saying his name right, going with Ivan Reyes, who actually was on the regular series title on one of them with Jeff Johns. And I would just always remember every month picking his book up, the book up when he was doing it, be like, man, like the artwork was fantastic. All the stuff he did, all the space stuff, just really good stuff. So like I said, it's hard because there are so many good artists that worked on Green Lantern, some of them only for small limited bits and some of them for long runs. But, that's the team that I went with.
All right. Very cool. How about you, Gary? What's yours? What's your
Well, I want to say this about, about the art, the writer. For first off, I'm doing something a little different here, but I want to say that the correct answer for writer is Jeff Johns. That is the correct answer. I'm not doing that, but that's the correct answer because of all the reasons Dan said.
Like Hal Jordan, you're just going to be like going to defy the odds, huh?
I'm going to defy the odds. That's right. You're like Captain Kirk. I'm going to break into the computer and make it so I can rescue that vessel in Romulan space.
There you go.
The Reyes or Van Scriver, I both of them are very similar to me, and I really love both of them. Mike Grill did a great job, but I have to go because of the historical significance of it. I have to give it to Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams just because what they did transcendent comics. Again, Dan, you are right. Jeff Johns is the answer. There's no doubt about what he did to the character, what he did for the character and how he explained the impurities in the rings and all the light cores. Without a doubt, what he did for that character. But because of what they did for comics, I have to go with Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams just because I have to give the historical perspective on that, and I've got to give them love there. But without a doubt, you're right. Jeff Johns is right. I want to show you something cool on the omnibus I have here.
Yeah.
If you can see that page.
Yeah.
Signed
a little higher.
There you go. Signed by Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams.
Nice.
Both of these gentlemen are not here anymore. And I always say this is a little bit of a different character, but I always tell people, if you are a fan of the modern day Batman, you owe Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams a tremendous debt of gratitude for bringing Batman out of what the 60s and the TV show and the comics did to that character. Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams changed comics. And one of the reasons why we love this industry right now the way we do is because of the stellar work of those gentlemen. And what they did here elevated comics to a true, it was an art form, but it elevated it to an art form that the masses could appreciate. And again, it was done in retrospect because this book was canceled. But it is recognized as an avant-garde moment in the comic industry. So for that reason, and that reason alone, I have to deviate from, again, what Dan's right. Jeff Johns is the right answer. But because of comic history, it says I have to go to a different route to me personally and say I got to mention Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. So,
all right. Still good choices. I like you, Gary, I had a plethora of artists and authors up here that it was hard to narrow down to. And I have, in my final cut, I have Jeff Johns, and an artist I have Mark Bright. But
Okay.
Yep.
I got Jim Owsley was another good writer. Romeo I want to say Tango.
Tangiel.
Yeah,
Tango.
he
He
had a
was
really
great.
good
Daryl Banks did good stuff. Van Skeever did great stuff on the book as well. Pat Broderick.
Oh yeah, Broderick's stuff was fun too.
Broderick stuff was great too. So
Mike Grill. I love Mike Grill.
Mike Grill as
Yeah.
well.
I mean,
And-
even and then you look at the stuff, you look at the artists that were on Justice League for all the years that he was on Justice League, and you've got so many great artists there. Jim Lee, when they did the New 52 one, it's like, yeah, it would have been great to see him do more, but he did draw him in that. George Perez, drew him back in the day. Like,
Yep.
there's a lot
Perez
of
did a great Hal. Perez did a great
Yeah.
Hal Jordan. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, absolutely. There was too many to choose from. There's just too many to choose from. But Uncle Gary, you're absolutely right about Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. It's a shame I never got to meet them as well. I was hoping to see Neil Adams or get a signature.
I got to see him quite a few times. At least a dozen times I got to meet him and talk to him. And I had, it was a relationship where he knew me when he would see me. Matter of fact, I talked about doing that panel where we talked about this book. And I'll give you a quick story on this. The important, what he wanted to talk about was how when he created John Stewart, he was pushing DC that it's about time we need an African American hero. And they said, you know what, you're right. Let's do that. And we're going to name him Lincoln Washington. He said, oh, hell no. He's not getting a damn slave name. And so he's going to be John Stewart, and he's going to be a professional. And he was an architect. He's going to be a professional. Right. He's going to be a educated man. So, but yeah, Lincoln Washington, he said, oh, hell no. So I told that story. They got a big laugh. Neil saw me the next day and thanked me because what we told people was the artist of that book is down there, is in the building. He has copies of this book. You buy this book, not only do you get one of the greatest books in comic history, but he'll sign it for you. And that's exactly what happened. People did down there, and he sold out of that book. So he sold out of all the copies he had, and he thanked us for doing that. And he said, if you ever do anything like that with some of our works, please let me know, and we'll coordinate a little more. But that was pretty cool, to be on his radar and have him thank me for that. Like I said, he is one of the most important creators in comic history. What we're talking about here is just a small perception. What he did about getting artists paid, what he did about getting Superman's creators their byline back, what he did about getting artists to be able to keep their original art. He set standards at the height of his power when he had power. You know what? He is in a way is a lot like Hal Jordan, who's a pain in the Guardian's ass. He was a pain in DC's ass and Marvel's ass because he had the power because he was so popular that he can make these demands. He shamed DC into giving Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster their byline, and they got $1 million. They got $1 million payout each, and because it was he's saying that they're struggling on Social Security, and they got a stipend after that. So he shamed them into that, and good for him. And this is right when the Superman movie is coming out, so he used that bully pulpit. Dick, I think it was Dick Ayers. Was it Dick Ayers? Was an old Ghost Rider artist, the Western hero, and he was struggling. And he said, "You're going to go to conventions, and you're going to." And I got this. I think I got this story from He says you're going to go to conventions, and you're going to charge $20 for your autograph, and people are going to be happy to give you $20 for you to sign their books. And Ayers was like, "Oh," and he goes, "No, that's what you're going to do." And he did that, and it helped him supplement, again, where he's struggling on whatever money he's got coming in. So sometimes when artists charge money for autographs, we grouse a little bit. But you know what? You don't know their circumstances. These guys don't have insurance like most jobs pay. They don't have Social Security that they paid into all these years. So he helped a lot of these artists get paid. And mentored them in that way to get paid for what they do. And Ayers was right. People were happy to pay him to sign their books. So, so
Did he freeze? There he is. He's back.
Right.
You froze for a quick second there, but yeah,
did I?
very
Okay,
true.
I'm sorry. Well,
No, that's all right.
anyway,
Very
I
true.
was making some great points too. Too bad you missed it. But anyway, Neil Adams, so important for the industry, and it was wonderful to be able to meet him. I only got to meet Denny O'Neil once, and I got this book signed, and I also got a Batman edition where it had most of their classic stories, like the 5-way, the Batman 251. The Joker's 5-Way Revenge, that's the famous playing card cover, and the introduction of Ra's al Ghul and those. I got that volume signed by Neil and by Denny. So those are my treasures that I have signed by Neil and Denny. So
nice. All right, this goes ahead. We can wrap this show up. Dan, do you have any last points you want to bring up or anything that you want to mention? Because Uncle Gary had one, so why don't you, Chris, if you have anything?
No, I think we covered all really good, really well. It's just, it's a character I've enjoyed for a long time, and like we said earlier, his current book that was relaunched, as of us recording this, I think it's about 4 issues deep. Is
good,
really a fun book, and it's a fun adventure book because as serious as comics can be, and certainly a series like Blackest Night and some of these were, like Rebirth, and especially Hard Traveling Heroes are very serious books. Hal's also a character that is just like, he works great as just a fun-loving adventure, kind of character too. So that's what we're getting in the book that his current series, and I highly recommend reading that.
He's a space cowboy.
Yeah.
Gangster love.
Maurice.
Like I said, if you took Maverick from Top Gun and you tossed him a power ring, that's Hal.
Yeah, that's true. True.
We always think Nathan Fillion would have been a great Hal years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would. So who do you think? They've announced that they're going to have Green Lantern and that he's going to be, in this, HBO Max show. Who would you like to see them cast as Hal?
Gosh,
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I can't even think of someone right off the top of my head, though. What about you? Do you have anything?
Since he doesn't get to play Superman anymore, I think Henry Cavill would be a good one. There's another actor. If you wanted to go younger, I don't know his name, but he was in the new Top Gun movie, Top Gun Maverick. He was one of the Top Gun students. I can't even remember what his call sign was in the movie. But I remember watching it thinking like, yeah, this guy's kind of cocky. This guy's kind of arrogant. Kind of looks like, he could be Hal. He's young enough that if you were to cast him, he could play the role for a long, long time.
What about the newest kid the newest guy that played Han Solo? You think he could be a Hal?
Yeah, I think it's Aiden.
Yeah, his weird name. Yeah.
Yeah, Aiden Ehrlich or something.
I did see that movie, so yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I'm too jaded from what happened with all live action attempts and stuff like that, and then the Green Lantern series that they were originally going with, and they've changed and revamped and didn't have the money for, and I'm not even sure what the status is of it now. So now I'm just like, okay, whatever you give me, I'm gonna watch and I'll make my judgment there. Huh?
That's his name, Glenn Powell. He played in Top Gun Maverick. He played the character Hangman.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
I think
he
was the one that was like the really kind of arrogant one that
cocky as hell.
Was I was like, this guy could be a pretty good Hal.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
You know what else I think would have been good too? He's aged out of the role at this point, but I think Thomas Jane, a few years ago probably would have been a good Hal as well.
I see that.
Okay.
So I guess it all depends on what age they want to go with for the actor.
Yeah, that's also true.
Excuse me.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, this wraps it up. We can go ahead and bring this segment to a close. We'll do a little quick outro with you guys. Dan the Man Kelly, where can people find you?
Well, when I'm
put
not
up with the
doing videos for Codex, you can find me on Instagram at Dan Kelly Art. I post art and music, a few days a week. And go check it out. Give me some likes, give me a follow, and come join the fun. And then right up here, oh, am I pointing the right way? Wherever he is above me, we got the guy. He wears cashmere sweaters. He wears $100 pleated slacks. He wears $15,000 Rolex watches, a Hugo Boss jacket. He is the Ric Flair of comic books, and he will come and smack the disrespect out of your mouth. So you better. There he is.
Ouch. Ouch. Uncle Gary.
And let me tell you something. All that stuff you said that I wear, that's true. But you know what? I'm at my best when I ain't wearing nothing at all. Ain't that right, baby? Yeah.
Oh.
So, I am a proud, and thank you for that introduction, Dan. And remember, follow him on Instagram. We have a goal, 1K for DK. I have some of his art hanging in my museum. You should too. I am a proud co-owner, Comic Logic. Comic Logic, we are the only comic book store in Loudoun County, Virginia. We're in Northern Virginia. You come see us. We would love to see you. If you want to see me in person, you come on Wednesday mornings when the new books are there. And the ink is fresh and the pages are crisp. And you come there and I will gladly talk comics with you. And remember, comics build muscles. Comics and push-ups got me all these muscles. Because you read them comics, turn all them pages, it just makes muscles just throw up there. So come see us, and we inject that ink right into our veins when we get our fix, and that pumps the blood up. So comics are good for you, kids. Need comics.
There you go.
We also do a Facebook Live show the first 3 Thursdays of every month. We had one tonight. Sal was a contributor on that show, so please come see us on our Comic Logic Facebook Live show. And we also want to give a lot of love out to the reason that we are all stuck together like glue is because Archduke Kevin Berkeley with the Comic Character of the Day site. That site is where we all got acquainted, and that pushed us on this wonderful path where we are now all members of the Codex team here. And Archduke Kevy's site is a wonderful site where he posts the character of the day. I will post the cover of the day under the name Opie Taylor. And Dan there has a random panel of the day, has a question of the day. And Sal is always answering it, always viewing it, always making sure that we are living up to his lofty standards. And speaking of lofty standards, then we have to talk about that fella over there. That is Sal. He is the slab guy. He is under Sal's Comic Corner. He's under it. He's over it. He's beside it. He is Sal's Comic Corner. And he is the guy that you want to talk to if you need a book slab or you want to know about slab books. He loves slabs so much. His idea of a good time is taking a nap at the morgue. That is who I'm talking about. That is a slab guy's definition of a slab guy. Sal, take it away. Thank you.
Well, thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. Yeah, you can always find me on Sal's Comic Corner on YouTube, or you can find me on Instagram as the Slab Guy 77. Uncle Gary is right. I do talk about my slabs. I do unboxings. I do some reveals, and I actually show you what books I wrap up to send off to CGC and stuff like that. So definitely check it out. But you know
his
what?
reveals at the morgue, you have to not be sensitive about those.
That's it.
The slab reveals at the morgue.
That's the Patreon review.
As they say on network news, these images may be disturbing.
All right, folks, but you can always find the Codex Station if you go to any social media, type in at the Codex Station, and you can find us. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe. We're over 1,000 subscribers, and man, we are climbing fast. So get on the boat and join us in this fun. We got to do it. And also, head on over to the codexstation.com website there. You can get some merch, meet the team, do much, much more. See what we like, see what shows we're on, see when those shows are airing, and any special events that are coming up. Do we have any special events coming up? I think we do.
Crossover,
Saturday-
maybe? Mm.
Yep, this Saturday night, some of us from the Codex team will be on with Mon Comics, and we'll be discussing our top 5 books, and that's going to completely hamper Uncle Gary to 5 books. Can you believe it? Out of 59,000 books, he's got to choose 5.
What am I going to do with all the others? That's just not fair.
It's not fair. Life's not fair, Gary. We just got to deal with it.
I'm being handcuffed here, man. Come on.
And not in the way that he likes.
But not
Not
the
the
way
way
he
that I
wants.
like either. That's right. Hey,
All
we
right,
gotta give
folks.
some love to Jamie. Let's give some
Yep.
love to
Oh, yeah.
Jamie.
Yeah,
Get
feel
better.
better soon, boss.
The founder, the creator, the architect of Codex. Jamie, get some chicken soup in you, brother.
Yep, definitely. But if you miss another show, you're off. I'm telling you right now. We're going to kick you out. All right?
Tough
Don't do this
crowd.
again.
Woo.
Don't do this again. Yeah, he calls me like, what, an hour or two before the show. Hey, I can't make it. Here's the stuff. Put it up. I'm like, okay.
But you know what? He knew that you could handle it, though. He knew that
That's
you
true.
were the man that could get the job done, and damn if
Yep.
he wasn't right.
Well,
Go have
Dan
yourself
helped.
a hot toddy and recover.
Yeah, that's true. Dan did help me out because I was actually out at the moment, so he did a lot of the uploading. So
Well,
all good.
well
Thank
see,
you
there
very
you
much,
go.
Dan.
It is Codex is a team. It is
That's
a
right, baby.
team. Codex Station is a team sport.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All
Yep.
right. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. I hope you guys have a 9.8 day.